Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone is doing well this weekend at home with your family, loved ones, or otherwise, or wherever you may find yourself. It's actually Saturday. I'm recording Saturday, but we'll be dropping this out tomorrow. And yeah, the reason I'm dropping this out is just to say hi and kind of introduce this space to kind of talk about what I'm doing and what it is what is it I'm with the platform that I'm trying to create or that I've now created. My business just got welcomed, or I guess it got launched yesterday. As of yesterday, I got an email with as far as being accepted to the state of Illinois, which is the name of the business is called Calling the Shots LLC. LLC standing for Limited Liability Corporation. And well, the reason or the purpose of the business is to create a platform where people who have ADHD or conditions or executive function deficiencies, or they have trouble with executive functions, to platform for them just to kind of being able to engage in and you know hopefully take something, learn from it, and things that they can, through my experience and knowledge, I'm going to try to share everything that I know through experience. And please know that everything that will be provided is as a resource. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a therapist. So just take it as what it is, which is as a form of educational purposes. So please don't go to your doctor or your therapist saying, "Oh, I know this ADHD coach Abraham said, blah blah blah." No, that is not the intention at all. It's again a form of through my experience and education and what I know, being able to provide that insight and hindsight, insight, wisdom, through shared experiences. I feel like we all have shared experiences, but specifically someone who's got ADHD, I think we can relate to a lot of kind of things that we experience and kind of how we've gone, and had to navigate through these the difficult, nature of life, our day to days. So yeah, form of education, nothing more, and yeah, just if we do end up working together, or more in sense of a one-on-one purpose, think of me as more of an accountability partner, as a partnership. That would be what our relationship is, and just to kind of build steps and a foundation, and to kind of help navigate those things that we struggle with. But with that said, like I said, I did want to introduce that opening to what it is I'm doing, and yeah, hopefully use this space to maybe particularly on Sundays just to kind of talk about some of things, and hopefully that'll come from you. So please, I'm gonna also leave a space open. Please drop me a message if you have any things that you'd like to discuss, or talked about, as far as again, not necessarily have to be pertaining to, but along the lines think along the lines of ADHD or executive functions, struggling with impulse, procrastination, hypersensitivity, emotional dysregulation, and tools, things that you might want to learn about, struggle with, things that are working for you, things that aren't. Please just feel free, just message me, and then we'll see if those things are that we can talk about. But I am in a number of social media groups. That was the first thing that I did. Well, I guess for insight, I uh, I got diagnosed with ADHD just a little over a year ago, the end of July of 2020. But it was something that I really knew internally for a very long time. The process was very long. It was difficult. It didn't help that it was during the pandemic, so a lot of things kind of just took a long time in the whole process. And so it took me a very long it was just to kind of like anticipating that. But I finally, I guess, I got the diagnosis. Even though it was something I knew for a long time. At the end of last year, and the first thing that I did was kind of join groups and just to kind of like support groups and kind of try to engage with the ADHD community. And one thing that I see a lot of, and some of the labels and the stigmas. And there's stigmas around a lot of things, and but it just frustrates me so much. But a lot of the stigmas around mental health, or particularly ADHD, is a lot. Those things that I just said, things that we kind of struggle with. Those are things that are labeled, as kind of like people who have ADHD is like, that means you are X, Y, and Z. You are, very hyperactive. You are very, you're going to be looked at as someone who, anything that's tied with ADHD is you're going to have those other, symptoms that people struggle with tied with it. So having to navigate those things with someone who does have ADHD, and just know that some people like it's also something that's very unknown. Unknown in the sense of it's still kind of like fairly new in retrospect. Although we might have been heard it like at least around or talked about through our livelihood, but it's been something that keeps changing and gaining more knowledge around it. And it's very still very the uncertainty around it, like there's controversy. A lot of people have look at it as something that's made up, or it's not even a condition or a disorder, or that's those are the stigmas that right, that I'm talking about, but in a greater sense. Oh, you're just using that as an excuse. No, like again, I didn't know that it was something that I guess formally diagnosed. As far as formally diagnosed, I didn't know that until I was 33 years old. So 3 decades of, and it is something that is biological. It's not something that you just pick up from the grocery store. It's something that the way we're wired, and kind of have to formulate that and kind of live in the world, apply that, with where the rules are different, where the rules aren't based around kind of how we're wired. So we don't understand that when you're young, and through by the time someone does get that diagnosis, whether it's at a young age, they've already kind of externalized a lot of those behaviors. So it's very obvious and apparent that they have it. But a lot of people don't, man. Believe me, a lot of people, whether it's in your family, whether it's in your home, that have no idea, because of the unknown. Because it's not because it's not really well known, and people just don't really know, like a lot of other conditions that are more obvious. So I really believe in the next few decades, and you're going to see a lot of adults come out. You're going to see a spike in those things, because more general knowledge around those things. So that's first things first. And well, yeah. So as far as the stigmas and a lot of these groups that I'm in, a lot of people do, and because this is kind of the way these stigmas are kind of like played out and talked about. We do end up convincing ourselves of these things, and we do convince ourselves that we're lazy and we're not good enough, and we're all those things that you want to label ADHD as. So those kind of things kind of play out, and we do, those things do manifest because that is what we believe. So I do see a lot of that, whether it's asking for knowledge, but then also, people know, they know. It's almost like, just do it, right? Nike, it's like the best advice you can do is guys, just do it, right? It's like, you want something done, you want to lose weight, just do it. You want to healthier relationship with your spouse, just do it. Everything. But obviously it's easier said than done, right? So people know like like the simplicity of kind of knowing the things that we have to do, but obviously that actually follow through of having to do those things. So people ask like while they ask the questions, and then kind of just like going back to that insecurity of well, it's easier said than done, but how do we do those things? How do we get out of our head? How do we not talk so negative about ourselves? How do we rid ourselves of social anxiety? A lot of those things, and then kind of naming that, just like, well, I kind of know what I have to do, but it's easier said than done. If I had, if I, was more that way, or neurotypical is this. My ADHD makes me do this, so I can't do those things. So I started off with that, and knowing, whether it's just do it, I'm just using that as an example, but it's just like, how do we just do it, right? And knowing is half the battle. I think kind of in order to do something, you kind of have to have a definition around it. You kind of have to have some kind of know what it means. So like, in order to solve a problem, you first must admit that there is a problem, right? So people, again, they ask, how do I get out of my head? I've just like so many thoughts going on, and just how do I clear my mind? Meditation doesn't work for me because my mind is so restless, this and that. And this person's got it made because this, why, and that. And so yeah, if we want to look at it that sense, someone who's fulfilled and kind of seems like they got it together. And talking in the sense of knowing is half the battle. One thing that they do know, and the reason that they at least project that as far as fulfillment, and whether you want to call it happiness, joy, peace, is because they know they approach, and again, know that anyone who's got, like, again, ADHD or those things that we feel, those things everybody feels, everybody does. So we're not separated from anywhere else, from anyone else, But as far as our symptoms, we are more hypersensitive to those things, and we are, although as far as the conditions, we are more, feel those in a greater sense. So when I say that, feelings, emotions, take the sadness, for instance, right? Everyone feels sad. Everyone has those moments. Even the one person that, or if you kind of look at it, we're talking about someone who's seems like they got it, as far as they project themselves as someone fulfilled, they feel sadness too. Everyone feels sadness. But now someone who feels it a lot more, there's a difference between sadness and depression. Just because I'm sad doesn't mean I'm depressed. Everyone has those those conditions that come in with that tied to depression, but it doesn't mean that they're depressed. Now, those feelings, those emotions, those things that now affect their day-to-day life, and if it's a constant, feeling, well then, now we're talking about depression. Even people who are in that realm, that spectrum, they feel moments of joy and happiness as well. It's just not as easy to pinpoint because, we often tend to dwell on the negative things that happen. So people who aren't really particularly, you can name that they're not really happy with their situation, they feel moments of happiness, they feel moments of joy too, but they're not going to consider themselves happy. So one thing, as far as the people who you may look at that seem that have joy, fulfillment, they don't differentiate between the two. They approach each situation as what it is. What I mean by that is just to kind of like not engaging with something that's bad. You know, we're very taught very early on to kind of label things either this way or that way, win, lose, good, bad. You know, that's a form of prejudice. You know, always picking a side. You know, so if I tend to gear towards something, that means that just like I'm going away from something else. So if I believe in something and I identify with that, I'm gonna have a set bias towards that. So those situations, someone who's more present, that's what you learn to take every situation as it is. There's not no such thing as good or bad. You know, there's just this. You know, and I don't want to use like term like good, bad, good feeling, bad feeling. Let's use unsettling. Something that makes me feel unsettled. Something that everyone feels unsettled at moments, but again, not identifying with it. And here's the trick, though. You know, again, we dwell on those things that make us feel unsettled. So you know, we can sit there and mope, and you know, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. You know, I'm so unfortunate. You know, this person's so you know, you know, of course this would happen to me. We spend a lot of time just to kind of looking at those things, and we separate that entirely from the things that make us feel great. Um, we don't think about those things as well. You know, we just let ourselves get lost in this, you know, fiction, this, you know, of you know, La La Land, of you know that we project something that made us feel good, and then we get carried away with it. You know, whether it's someone that you met, you know, someone you just met. You might have like played that out. Literally, you've already been married. You have kids. You know, she's you know, you grow old together. All those things off of maybe one little, you know, or maybe after a few dates or something, or you know, just again, you know, that feeling of serotonin, things that make us, you know, vibe, and things that make us give us energy. We try to seek that out, and we try to like, yeah, you know, but we get carried away with that as well. So not necessarily present, you know, you see, that's what I mean, like not good, not bad, you know, that's just as, if not more of a, you know, detrimental than kind of dwelling, because when we dwell, like we know we don't want to feel that way. So it's just like sometimes, you know, and again, you know, this is, if it gets pretty extreme, then obviously it becomes more of a mental health thing that needs to be treated aspect or treatment. But you know, we all get down in the dumps, but we can, you know, we'll recover from that. But now, when it's on the other side of the wheel, you know, when we kind of just like getting excited, you know, again, whether it's someone you met, someone that you want to be with, you know, a job, career, you know, you know, anything, health, fitness, it's just kind of getting carried away and manifesting something that's not, that hasn't happened. But that's again dangerous as well, because we're now anticipating something. We set expectations, and a lot of times they're unrealistic expectations. So then you go on a few dates, and then you find out that person was not who you thought they were. um, uh, Again, you know, that can become because it was formulated through your thoughts. So someone who does feel more present and is, they don't not differ to not, they don't differentiate. You know, it's like I said, you know, knowing is half the battle. But everyone has those moments. You get carried away with those things, but someone who's practiced that, you know, whether it's through mindfulness, you know, that's what it is. You know, it's a lot of exercising of that one muscle. You know, like any other muscle in the body, you want it to get strong. You know, you got to work on it. So if you don't, you know, work on that muscle, you know, you're gonna neglect it. It's gonna, you know, probably be weak, and so we're more susceptible to getting lost in those thoughts. You know, of, you know, whether they make us feel great or unsettled. But either way, we're not present. You know, so. And again, someone who does apply those practices to try to learn from when those things happen, they those things happen all the time as well, but because of that practice, because of that constant, every single day working on that, um, recognizing it, um, you know, recognizing it when it does happen, um, then they can apply their focus back to where they know um, brings them their value, worth, and like knowing that projecting something that hasn't happened, even if it makes me feel good, is not reality. Dwelling on something that's happened before that really made me feel unsettled, that's not reality either. If I use that bad or unsettling experience to approach this situation right here that's going to be in front of me, whether it's talking right now, if I use something that I've used in the past and my social anxiety and not being able to, talk in front of people, if I use that and apply it like that, I've already manifested something, and I'm likely to recreate that situation. So, recognizing those moments when you're dwelling on the past or anticipating the future, and getting back to what is, not good, not bad. It just is, being present in the moment. But like I said, knowing is half the battle. So how do we do those things, right? We all want to know about, like, take practical steps, right? Sounds great, just do it, right? But how do you do it? And I will talk about that tomorrow. We'll make this a two-part segment. For me, from my experience, again, it's not a form of treatment, but I will drop some knowledge from my experience and kind of things that I've seen work. And we'll continue that tomorrow. But in the meantime, again, happy Sunday. And please feel free to drop me a message, anything that we might want to, bring up, and hopefully this can be something that we can talk about on Sundays or something like that. I might need a name for these little segments as well. So if you have any names, feel free just to shoot some ideas. But till then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk back tomorrow.